Let's wait and give it a second, see if this loads over here. Maybe, maybe not. Give me 1 second. Nothing's happening yet. I might, oh wait, there it is. Let's see if we've got audio. And if so, we can get started. Yep, it's there. Okay. So let me go ahead and, oh, thank you, Joseph. Make sure I am recording. Yeah, if it wasn't for you guys reminding me, seriously, I would never remember to hit record. I appreciate that so much. Okay, let me pop this window out, or the chat window, so I can see more. So tonight is definitely something I didn't expect to be making videos on, watercolor pencils. And now I'm like, well, maybe I want watercolor in general too. So you may end up seeing that eventually. Right now, tonight, I am working with the Derwent Watercolor pencils, and just for transparency, they did provide these pencils to me, but this is not sponsored in any way. They just gave me the pencils. Quite a while ago, actually, like at some point, maybe a year ago. It's been a long time. And I just never really got around to using them. I thought, well, you know, I'm not really familiar with watercolor. I will just use them here and there in like little like practice things first to get used to them. And the problem is I don't do studies. I don't practice things. I don't do sketchbooks. It just, I love the idea. I just don't ever do it. So I decided, you know what? Let's just jump into a project and see what happens. And I'm completely in love. So I don't know why that's like my way of doing things with art. Like if I want to learn how to do something, I have to jump into a full project. I can't get myself to just like practice little studies or practice blending. It just doesn't interest me. So that has never worked for me. So let's go ahead and get started. These pencils you do get a little bit of a gritty look where I can't blend out all the way, but I can layer. I just have to be careful not to create mud because watercolor, unlike Inktense is going to be permanent. So you can glaze and layer on top of it without it blending in with the colors underneath. This will reactivate some of those colors. I mean, it's not to the point where you add it and it completely goes back to white paper. It's not like that. For those of you who are not familiar with watercolor, it's not to that extent, but it will kind of blend into it. Green Gables asked if I used watercolor blocks for the background. No, I only used the pencils. And the thing that was surprising to me on the pencils, I didn't think that it would give me this much color saturation. And I think looking at my screen anyway, at least on my monitor, the color saturation on my background looks a little bit more bold than when mine is, but the lionfish looks exactly the same. The lighting always affects everything weird, but it's not quite as dark as what you guys, I think, are seeing. So let's go ahead and start. And as usual, I just have way too many pencils in my hand. Let's figure out which ones I wanted for this. Okay, I'm just going to pick one of these fins. Move that down. And this is one of my own reference photos. This one was one of our Patreon monthly reference photos from like, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. So I will make this, once this video goes up on Patreon, I'll make it available to you guys over there. So I'm going to start, this is kind of a cream color, just so I'm not just jumping straight into white. Now I used a water-soluble graphite pencil from Faber-Castell for my background. So, because I kind of had shaped or sketched out approximately where I wanted colors to shift, which once I started, I ended up ignoring completely, so it didn't even matter. But the reason that I went with the water-soluble graphite there is I didn't want to have pencil lines showing. If you use a regular graphite, I would have had pencil lines all over the place, but because it was water soluble, it just blends into what I had. Now the fish, I did differently. On him, I used a regular graphite pencil so that I wouldn't lose those lines. So some of those will end up staying. Now that I've had a bit more practice with this, I think in the future, I will go ahead and do water soluble graphite for everything. I was worried about losing things. Wasn't sure how much control I would have when I blended the background, that I'd lose everything for the lionfish. So, Ka Illustration wants to know the brand of watercolor pencils. It is Derwent. Yes, Derwent. Make sure if you guys have any questions, highlight like what Ka did there at Lachri Fine Art, or I won't even see it. I just assume you guys are talking amongst yourselves at that point. Selves. I can talk. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm actually going to jump into some of the really dark areas, just block these in. These blend really nicely, much better than I was expecting, honestly. I don't know. I guess just because I've not been a watercolor person, or that wasn't a medium I was super skilled in myself or interested in. I just went into this. That may be part of why I like it so much. I went into it not expecting to like it, so the fact that I did really surprised me. So kind of like when you go to see a movie and everyone tells you how amazing it is and you don't end up liking it as much because you expected more, or the opposite. Everyone said it was terrible and you realize it's not that terrible, and so you like it even more than you otherwise would have. It may be the same situation with this medium for me, just because I went into it not expecting to like it very much. Just because in the past when I worked with watercolors, I just didn't like it. You don't need to push very hard. The pigment's actually really good with these. Let's see. Margine wants to know how many pencils are in the set. I think this one's 72. Phyllis said, which paper do you think you can use Inktense for details? I don't think I will need Inktense for details. Okay, the paper, we'll answer that one first. The paper is Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 140. It's the one that came in the block. Oh dear God, this does not hold its shape. Like, it is way worse than the old Fabriano I used to use. This isn't, I don't know if this is a new one. I don't honestly remember when I got this block of paper, but you're supposed to paint in it in the block, except mine came out of the block. Like, the block just kind of fell apart. So that wasn't an option. So I just removed a piece and stuck it on here, which I don't think is how it was intended either. So my paper is super, super warped. It did not go back into shape as much as the old Fabriano by any means. But again, this is the one that came in the block, and I don't think you're supposed to paint on that in the block, and that didn't work out for me here. So, that's what happened there. But for using the Inktense for details, you absolutely could, but I don't feel like I need to. Like, I'm not having any trouble getting details that I want with these. So, and I initially, when I started this project, I figured I would kind of cheat and make it a little easier on myself and combine this with, I was going to use my Pro Color, and this one, I haven't checked into the light fast. I'm assuming most that these are not super light fast. So I figured I'd use all of my Pro Color, even the non-light fast ones, but I don't think I'm going to need to. I actually really like the look, this very soft watercolor feel. So think I'm just going to leave it straight watercolor. And I also thought I was going to end up using white acrylic paint on top, full on sheeting. Watercolor artists are super against that. But it would be just as archival as without, so it wouldn't affect it that way. It's just that a lot of watercolor artists are kind of super, super picky that everyone does it just with watercolor and don't use white. But I don't think I'm going to need it. So that was a surprise to me too. So yes, I could use Inktense. I just don't think it's necessary. Am I planning on framing it? I'm actually going to be giving this to a friend of mine who really likes lionfish. And so since I'm not going to sell it, because again, I haven't checked the light fast, but I want to say from what I remember before that they're not super, or that not all of them are light fast. I don't know. I'll look it up before I do the actual review for YouTube, but I'm just going to give it to her so she can frame it in whatever she wants. Since I'm shipping it, I'll just roll it into a tube. So I don't have to worry about that. Gavin said, would it be fine to go to an aquarium and take reference photos? Obviously no flash. And the aquarium allows photography, or would the glass distort the image too much? This one was taken in an aquarium, and it's just fine. I mean, I don't know that my photos that I take at the aquarium are good enough to like make posters out of, but it's definitely good enough to use as reference photos for your artwork. Get some more color in there before I put in the rest of the darks. Sharpen that pencil. These sharpen really easily too. They're not super crumbly. Like, I've just been surprisingly, I'm not saying that right, happy with these. Again, I mean, it's so funny when you go into something and you don't expect to like it and you end up liking it. You end up, I don't know. I think I may be praising these more than the average person might, just because I really didn't expect to enjoy them at all. And now I'm like all excited and I want to go and buy every type of watercolor pencil so I can try them all out, make videos reviewing. So there will definitely be more of those in the near future. I have to save up to get some more though. But as far as, I mean, obviously I can't compare them to other pencils since I've not used other watercolor pencils, but I can say I have thoroughly enjoyed these. Like, I'm not having any problem. Someone asked on Instagram last night about if I was having trouble with them being muddy or getting good color saturation. I've not had any trouble getting the color where I wanted it to be. So that's a good thing. It's kind of hard to review that just in, I've not used other pencils, so it's possible compared to others it might not be the same, or, you know, as highly pigmented or highly saturated, but so far I really like them. So this is where it ends up being a little bit of a challenge, I think, versus using regular watercolor. So I've got the paint down, or the pigment down here, and you'll see that it's going to completely change when I add water. It's actually, I'm just going to use my Derwent Watercolor brushes because these are pretty easy. These are just brushes. Oh, I should have put them in the video description. They hold water, and you can get them with different tips, so you don't have to keep reloading them. But I do have to wipe them down to keep them clean every so often on a paper towel. I just dab it or reload more water if I need more water there. Yeah, definitely not going to use a regular graphite again next time I draw out my subject. Lesson learned. Blend the light areas first so I don't smudge that into my darks too much. Now then I can go into the dark areas. And you can use these are the water brushes, or you can use a regular paintbrush with water. But see how the color shifts so much? So this is where I think it's a little bit more of a challenge using the pencils than regular watercolor, just in that it's hard to kind of anticipate what that color is going to be. But then that's kind of also fun. It's like, let's see what happens. I have no idea. It'll be a surprise for everyone. Ka Illustrations wants to know if I can make a video suggesting how I ship artwork. Like, how should I do it? No. Here's why. I'm not going to be responsible for it. And that sounds really, like, shady, I guess. The thing is with shipping, this is what I'll tell you about shipping. No matter, even if you insure the product or the box, unless most of them won't really follow through with the guarantee. So like, I'll pay extra, go to UPS or FedEx, I'll pay extra for a guarantee that it doesn't get damaged, whatever. But if they damage the box, unless they box it themselves, they're not going to usually, they'll try to fight that you paid the, not the guarantee, you pay the insurance. So let's say I ship a painting, it's $40. So you can add insurance for $15, $20, depending on, you know, what amount you're insuring it for. If they did not box it and them boxing it, me boxing it would cost me like $10. Them boxing it, $80. Not kidding on some of these paintings. So if they did not box it themselves, they are not usually going to want to follow through with that guarantee, because they'll say, oh, well, it got damaged because you did a bad job boxing it, even if you actually did a better job than they did. So that is, I'm not comfortable telling you guys how I, going through that, because honestly, the shipping companies are so shady. So it's like the only way I can word it in a way that keeps, that you know for sure they're going to guarantee it if they trash your box, is tell you to let them do it for you. It's just super expensive. For me, I usually make my own boxes and just pack them really well. But I'm not comfortable making a video showing how I do it, just because I don't want someone saying, well, I did it like you did and it got damaged, and then they wouldn't guarantee it. And so it's why I haven't, and I don't see myself ever making a video on boxing. I mean, I can show you how I drive to UPS, but that's about the extent of it. They're kind of weird with that. The insurance, the only thing the insurance really does for you if you didn't have them box it is if they lose it, they will insure the product, or cover the product. But even then, it just drives me crazy how they run those, because it's like, wait, if you lost it, wasn't my initial paying you to ship the item a guarantee that you were going to not lose it? But I had to pay extra for insurance in case you lost it, but you're not going to let that insurance cover if you damaged it. So anyway, yeah, that is basically the gist of why I am not comfortable making a video about that. Because the shipping companies are kind of shady, and I don't want you guys to be like, well, Lisa said this was going to work, and my painting got messed up. Creative Gen DIY wants to know my favorite medium. It depends on when you ask me. Like, if I could only work in one medium for the rest of my life, I would probably go with acrylics because they're very versatile and I can do just about anything I want with them. But I wouldn't want to just choose like one. And when I'm working like right now, this is my favorite. Next week, I'll be working in a different medium. That will probably be my favorite. It's always, I change constantly which one is my favorite. Like, I've thought about that. Like, what if I was, you know, stranded on a desert island and I could only have one medium with me and that's the only medium I would ever have for the rest of my life? Probably acrylics. But that would get boring because I'm just not one who's interested in working in just one medium. I like switching things from week to week. It keeps things more interesting. Let's see. Fantasy Freak wants to know when Chicken will get some screen time. I considered bringing him in here for this, but he's really, really clingy with me, and I don't think he would let me work. I think he would be too busy trying to climb onto me, onto the pencils, onto everything. When I had him in the videos before on live streams, I may try it one of these days, but before when he's been here when I did live streams, he was much calmer and much like more reserved. Now that he's a grown-up chicken, he is not so reserved, and I don't think he would allow me to get very much work done. So I can go get him at the end of the live stream and bring him in if you guys want to see him. Just remind me. But he's also, I'm planning to use him for the intro of the colored pencil video that I've got to make the video for still. Probably do that Friday. So you'll see him in that one, hopefully, if he cooperates. Melissa said or asked, what would you recommend if somebody is just starting out? What colored pencils and watercolor pencils would you recommend? Honestly, whatever you're more interested in, whatever fits within your budget. I mean, my favorite for colored pencils, I like my combination of Faber-Castell Polychromos, and then my Luminance, the Caran d'Ache Luminance, are right. I like them both. I wouldn't want to do just one or the other. So those would be, most of my students, I would say, started or prefer, just based on the price, because the Luminance cost so much. A lot of beginning students went with the Faber-Castell. And I say get as many as you can afford. I would rather you get 20 good pencils, so let's say 20 Faber-Castell, than get 150 like Crayolas. But get what you can, but get quality if you can do that. That is what I would recommend there. For watercolor pencils, I'm liking the Derwent. I think these are actually fairly inexpensive compared to some of the other watercolor pencils I've looked at. So, I mean, I've been perfectly happy playing with them. So I would say these seem pretty good right now. Let's see. Jesse James Ramirez said, didn't you get one of those from your Smart Art boxes? Are you still planning on doing those videos? I got some watercolor pencils. It wasn't these. I forget what brand it was, but I did get to play with some. They did not have this amount of pigment. They were way more pastel, or they weren't as dark. And Smart Art boxes, yes, I actually just recorded 2 projects. I've got to record the intros for them. So I am so far behind on those, but I've got 4 boxes, I think, here I need to make videos for. I just did the 2 projects last, Friday. I need to now do the intros and edit those together. So those will be up for you guys soon. Actually, the people who run Smart Art Box are going to be in Dallas for an art convention over the weekend. So I might end up getting together with them for dinner one of those nights. I really, really like them. That always makes me like a company better when you meet the people who run it and they're just really cool people. I love their mission statement and why they decided to do this. It's just cool. But yes, I will be doing that. Heidi said, a bit off topic, but I wanted to ask, what starter colors besides black and white would you recommend for Liquitex Basics acrylic paint? Should I have 2 of each primary, or I can tell you what I did. I mean, I can't tell you what the right way to do is. Everybody's going to have a different way to go about that. For me, I just got 1 red, 1 yellow. I didn't get orange because I just mixed that with the red and the yellow. I got green, blue. I think Phthalo blue is the main one I used. Purple dioxazine, brown, like a Van Dyke brown, and you can pretty much mix almost anything you want from there. Just kind of neutral tones. I didn't get any pastel colors. I didn't do any of that because I can mix that by mixing white in with them. But some people do like to just get your primary and mix from there. That would work too. There's nothing wrong with that. It completely, it just depends on you, what you want to go with. But for me, I didn't want to just do primary when I started. I did get, you know, the green and the purple and certain colors, because that is one thing. Purple dioxazine, that is a color, like, you have to have the exact right blue and the exact right red, and I don't even own the exact right color to get the actual, like, bold, vivid dioxazine purple. So that is one color I usually recommend if you like purple. Well, yeah, you can mix a purple color, but if you want that real bold purple, kind of like the color I'm using right now, it's better to go ahead and buy that too, but at least with the Liquitex. Let's see. Hilda wants to know what I think about the new Vero app. I think it has a lot of bugs. I think that's interesting. The thing that I find so interesting about this is that there's almost like a controversy of people going, oh, don't trust them. It's a social media platform, so I don't necessarily trust any social media platform. But it's been kind of interesting because I'm seeing a lot of YouTube, or not YouTubers. Well, actually, two were YouTubers I saw. They weren't artists. They were, one was like a vlogger or something, and then the other was a photographer, and they were kind of freaking out because they couldn't delete their accounts. And I'm like, that's kind of normal for something that's in beta, so I wouldn't even worry about that. I don't know what difference it makes if you delete, like, who cares? But I mean, I was on Snapchat. I haven't used it in years. My account's still there. So my attitude has always been, if there's a new social media platform, when I hear about it, I do typically want to sign up for it just so I can save my username, although that doesn't seem to be a thing with Vero, so it does seem kind of unnecessary. But I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't try it. A bunch of people are saying that the people who own it are really shady, which very well may be the case. I'm not arguing that, but yeah, it's been interesting to me to watch, like, on Twitter and some of the stuff that I've seen, like these really big YouTubers who are like millions of subscribers who were freaking out because they couldn't delete the account, which I was like, the whole app is buggy. It's good luck even getting into your Vimo account. So deleting it, I can see why that wouldn't happen. Nothing works right on it right now, but it's in beta, so it's still hard to say how it's going to be going forward. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that something will overthrow Facebook and Instagram, owned by the same people. I'm sick of their attitude of, we'll decide what you want to see. Well, I liked certain pages because I wanted to see the content from them, but that you're going to decide for me that I didn't? Like, that frustrates me. That makes me talk about not trusting a company. That really makes me not trust a company when they think they can decide for me. So I'm just hoping that some social media platform at some point soon will overthrow or be big enough to kind of take over some of that. I don't know that this will be the one, but the other thing I'm reading, it's kind of, I don't know, I like reading conspiracy theory type things. I'm reading where people are like, oh, it's getting negative, like they're saying negative things about it, like about the founders and such, because it's Instagram and Facebook are putting that information out there, or they're trying to push to fight so that it's competition. I don't know. It's just been kind of interesting to watch. I don't remember there being a social media platform. Ooh, it's raining. I don't remember there being a social media platform that had that much, like, many people talking about kind of conspiracy theories back and forth. So that just interests me. But it's hard to say if it's going to be good or not. It's too buggy to tell. I mean, it is really buggy. I was able to get into it like once or twice today. No, I didn't get into it at all today. A couple times I tried to open the app and it wouldn't even open. So that's not super impressive, that's for sure. But I definitely don't have I guess that was the other thing. They have their terms of service are questionable. So are every single social media platform's terms of service. They all basically say, we own your content. You post it here, it belongs to us, and we can do what we want with it. And so that seems to be a thing. And I understand what people are worried about that. That is always scary sounding when you read it. But I just don't post anything. It's like nothing that they could make prints out of, which can't imagine them wanting to, but I mean, I'm not going to post anything like that there anyway. Wow, it is pouring. Can you guys hear that? see. Oh my gosh, so much rain. It makes me so happy. And it's warm too. I actually have the window open. I just scrolled by too fast. Where did this go? My favorite, KG Scribbles asked what my favorite subject to draw. People, animals, clouds, etc. Animals, hands down, animals. I mean, even when I was a kid, I've always preferred animals to people. Just because I usually like animals better than most people. So, yeah, definitely animals. I mean, I like drawing people too now, the more I've done it a bit, you know, because I didn't used to draw people at all, like until maybe 10 years ago or so. So, maybe, no, it was longer than that. 10, 15 years, I don't know. But yeah, I now like drawing people, but my preference is still hands down animals. Any animals. Doll said, I haven't been drawing or painting for the last 3 months. I want to go back to drawing, but I feel like I lost the passion for doing art. You've got to find something that motivates you. I mean, doing it just because you feel like you should. Now, sometimes once you get started, that'll be enough. But I feel like a lot of times you have to find the thing that makes you excited. It may be a song. It may be like sometimes I will listen to something I haven't listened to in a while, whether it be a band or a style of music, and that will like motivate me, and I'm like, I have to go draw. But I think finding something that motivates you, someone who motivates you, like for me, okay, I will get a bunch of camera equipment and then I don't use it, like my GoPros. My GoPro 4 I bought years ago, when that was the newest one. I bought that one with the intention to make vlogs and to do all, I was going to record when I went on walks. I was going to do all these things with it, and I never did anything with it. And then I ended up watching a video, Peter McKinnon. I watched it is freaking pouring. Happy. I watched some of his videos on the way that he was using his GoPro. I'm like, I'm going to go search a video on GoPro and see if I can get some tips. And I ended up getting, so I got a bunch of ideas for the way that he was using it. And that's not his, like, for him, it's not his preferred camera, but he uses it for a lot of interesting things. And I'm like, I want to do that. And so I started using mine, for one thing, to record my palette, which was new. I'm like, I've had it for years and didn't realize, it never crossed my mind that I could use it for that. So I started doing that, and then I ended up liking it enough that, like, I figured I did a time lapse where it recorded the sky. I used a clip and clamped it onto my window so you could see the clouds moving during the day. There weren't many clouds, but it was still cool. I'm like, all of these fun things that all these years I never used. Like, I had the camera, never used it. Well, then I ended up deciding that was fun. I needed the GoPro 5, or I got the 6 because that one does slow motion. It can do up to 240 frames per second. So that's been fun. But for me, when I get to where I'm like, okay, I have the GoPros, but I'm not using them, I'll go watch a video of someone who's using it, and that motivates me. It's like, when you see how well someone can use those tools, that will sometimes work for me, and I'll want to do that, try something similar. I mean, not exactly, but I don't know. That's kind of my thing. I have to find something that somebody else is doing that I think looks so cool, and then you get that, I want to do that too. So that you can do that with art. Find a style of painting. Find somebody who's doing something that you want to do, and that hopefully will excite you and motivate you into wanting to. And then sometimes just taking those first steps, getting those art supplies out, picking a drawing, and just doing it. That can be enough to kind of get that spark going again. David wants to know if I recommend buying the 60 or 120 count of polychromos. Well, I will go with the 120. Go with whatever the most you can afford is what I would recommend. But the 60 is still a good amount of pencils. So you can still do all beautiful, amazing artwork with that. But my preference with colored pencils especially is always as many as I can get. I always want more. Eric wants to know if the Derwent Watercolor pencils are new. No, they've been out for a long time. Mine's actually the old tin. They have a new design on the tin. Let's see. Victoria said I have... Victoria Diaz Art said, I have a YouTube channel with only 3 videos from 2017 and I want to start uploading again. I think the older videos won't look good next to the new ones. Should I erase them? Thanks. I wouldn't. I would start uploading. Leave those new ones may bring you in viewers. They may bring you in subscribers. It may be something someone likes. But if they're like really bad or they're not the same quality, like if you have improved night and day to where it doesn't even look like the same artist's work, then I maybe it might be worth removing. But no, for me, if you can look back at videos of mine from years ago and they were terrible, and every once in a while even I'll think the same thing. I'm like, gosh, I don't want someone to see that as the first video for me to see and then they don't want to watch other ones because those ones were so bad. But they still bring people in, and there are still people who like some of those old, like really old ones. So no, I would not delete them. That is my just me. Someone else may have a different view on that, but I would definitely, if it were me, I would leave them there. Because they don't really, I don't think that they really hurt you, but you can also use that as kind of more motivation to get more videos, more content that pushes them, kind of buries them a little bit further. And then if you want to eventually maybe unlist them so they're still on the channel, you don't lose those views, they're not removed from your view count. There's another reason I wouldn't, because now I don't know with your channel how many viewers you have or subscribers, but when you get to the point where you want to monetize, you kind of want those views and those subscribers. You don't want to necessarily get rid of those, because there is that, oh, this was, okay, this is the blue. There's that whole, the change with the monetization with YouTube, so. I either need indigo or black, this'll work. Yeah, Theo, our illustration said Vero is very buggy, but it's still beta, so whatever. Exactly. It's like, it's beta, so I don't expect that much from it. And people are like, well, it's been out for 2 years. They just blew up. I guess what happened is like Wednesday, I don't know. A few days ago, they announced that their platform is going to be a paid subscription. Like, I don't know what payment they're looking for, but instead of doing, depending on advertisements, that they would have users pay a fee to use the platform. But the first million were free. Well, their servers weren't prepared for how many people would sign up because they wanted to be in that first million. So, yeah, that they've kind of have been crashing. They did not do a very good job of that release. But exactly, it's beta, so I'm not going to really hold that against them too much. Oops. Scroll too far. Tara West said, I must be on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex. I'm pretty much right on DFW Airport. It seems to have passed a bit. Let's see. Clarence McGraw said, I think I'll soon be getting your rain showers in my neck of the woods, St. Louis. It's a good thing I got my bike riding session in today. I actually went through today because it was raining all day. I used it as an opportunity to clean my patio because I haven't cleaned it since, well, this time last year. Because last year with all my health stuff started in the very beginning of June. So I haven't dusted out there. I've barely taken care of my plants. So, or the ones that are out there anyway. So today I washed the chair cushions and washed all the furniture out there and even mopped poured water and swept it off the balcony. So I'm all excited about, I usually wait till it rains to do that because I don't want water flowing on my neighbors below me if they weren't prepared for water. But if it's already raining outside, I figured it was wet either way, so it doesn't matter. But I spent some time today with all of that, getting it all nice and clean. So I'm excited to actually be able to use my balcony again. One of the things that I'm liking about the watercolor look is keeping it a little bit more loose and not stressing too hard about everything being like super crisp, super clean. I intentionally want to leave it a little bit, well, it looks like watercolor to me. I'm not trying to make this look like my colored pencils or trying to make it look like my Inktense. It's a different medium, and I think I'm going to play that up intentionally and not try to get this to where it ever is as tight as the other mediums. Because that's, I think, what kind of draws me to why I would want to use this over the other mediums. I like the look that this is giving for something different there. The other thing that I really like is, oh my gosh, it turns out watercolor pencils, so fast to work in. Like really, really, really fast to get work done in this. I mean, I'm taking a long time now because I'm talking with you guys, but like all of this was done super fast. Issa said, I really love colored pencils, but when I try to blend the colors, the drawing looks off and not realistic at all. No matter what I do, it looks muddy and grainy. So there are a few things that can cause that. Of course, the type of paper you're using and the pencils, I don't know what you're using, so I can't comment there, but that can be the reason. But the main reason that usually that happens from people is that they're pushing too hard too early on, or they're not getting enough pigment on the paper. So you push too hard, you flatten the tooth of the paper, but it's not really getting the pigment all, wow, it's pouring again, into all the little nooks and crannies of the paper. So it's like it's hitting the surface. But when you push too hard, it's like, it flattens it to where you can't get more on top, but it's sticking too much to just the surface. The other is if you don't have enough pigment, lots and lots of layers. So let's say with blending with odorless mineral spirits, I'll put down 3 to 5 layers of colored pencil before I blend with OMS, let it dry, put 3 to 5 more layers, let it blend with OMS, let it dry, and I repeat that until the color saturation is good and I don't have the gritty, grainy look. But keeping a very sharp pencil will also make a really big difference. So an example, this pencil right here, not what I would consider super sharp. That point, actually this one's kind of, we'll use this one's better. See how it's kind of rounded? Yeah, I can still draw with it, but it's rounded. It can't get into all the little nooks and crannies, I dropped a pencil, of the paper. Whereas one like, let's see, even this isn't technically sharp enough. No, these are watercolor pencils, so it's different. But with colored pencils, this wouldn't be sharp enough. You need a super sharp point to get that into all the little white crevices, because it's those little nooks and crannies I'm talking about. Those are what you're having a hard time getting the pencil into, and that's why it looks grainy and gritty. You've got to be able to get the pencil into that. So one is just having enough pigment on the paper. The other is make sure those pencils are sharp, like really sharp. Oh gosh, Brett Ransom is actually the husband of one of my best friends. So I can only imagine what, I just scrolled past, only imagine what he's going to say. Hi Lisa, long time watcher, first time caller, dork. What is the piece of art you have wanted to make but just haven't for some reason? Wow, you have a real question, Brett. I'm surprised because Brett usually, like, he'll text me just to make like smart aleck comments. I'll be talking to his wife and he's got to throw in his 2 cents. But let's see, what's a piece I've wanted to make but just haven't for some reason? I really want to do a mermaid painting, like a really good big mermaid piece, and like something super realistic. I just haven't done it yet. I don't really have any reason. I just haven't gotten around to it, but it's definitely on my things that I want to do. Also, I'm kind of weirded out right now that you're asking a normal question. Through our illustration said, yeah, I jumped on here before the fees may kick in. Yeah, I mean, with Vero, it may pan out, it may not. I don't see what difference it makes, because, I mean, at the very worst is they've got my phone number now. So does every telemarketer apparently in this country, so I don't really see that getting worse. I get so many of those calls, so I'm just not too concerned. My only thing I'm thinking, and I like the way that their link feature is set up, you know, assuming their app works, that you can link your videos from YouTube, you can link things in over there, and that I do like, because like Facebook doesn't like that. Facebook's not a fan of you. You can do it, but they don't like you to do it. So I think that's the main thing for now while I'm playing with it, and we make sure that their terms of service aren't super bad, or that they're not, that they're going to use it for ways that hopefully they wouldn't, I guess. I'm not necessarily going to post anything that would be made as prints or could be used as prints, is the only thing that I kind of be hesitant on at this point. But the same way with Instagram or anything else too, so that doesn't really change. I am a huge fan of watermarks, though. Maybe more artists need to be taking advantage of that just in case. Jacqueline said, with the background of this piece, did you use a brush to blend the water brush you're using now? I used a paintbrush, one like this. It's just a tackle bristled filbert. It worked really well. I had a watercolor brush that's softer, but I didn't like how it worked with the pencils. That's a really good question. I thought this one's kind of a watercolor. There's another one that's even softer, and I really, it was too gritty. Like, it didn't really blend out the pencil that well, so those would work better for watercolor paint, but not the pencils, I guess. I used my Taklon bristles, are my favorite so far. But for almost everything, including the fish, I've been using paint brushes. I just started using the watercolor brushes late last night when I was messing with this. Courtney Hertz said, sorry if you answered this. I might be live. I don't know. I did notice while the internet dropped, though, that my computer was not plugged in and it was kind of dying. So I'm glad I caught that. I think, are we back? We should be back. I'm going to wait till you guys tell me for sure before I go too far with that. Let's move the chat over here. I would not be surprised if I lose internet a couple times because the storm. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and go back. What was that question I missed? I lost my train of thought. Oh, layering. I'm using colors I know when they blend together, they look okay, just because purples and oranges look pretty together. So that's kind of my thing there. But light to dark is definitely how I would recommend at this point, at least for as I'm starting now. Okay, scrolling up because, okay, that's as far as I can get on the questions before it restarted. Carolyn, Kairolim. Sorry, I don't think I said that right. Is there a way to remove gloss varnish from my acrylic painting without damaging the paint? I messed up badly when I sprayed the varnish. Probably not. Most acrylics, no. Contact the manufacturer is what I would recommend there, because it depends on from each manufacturer. But all of the acrylic varnishes I use are not removable. Let's see. Have I ever done anything with digital mediums, or have I always exclusively? Yeah, I actually have. On Instagram, I posted some of my digital paintings. I like digital painting a lot, actually. I've not done a video other than like me editing the last painting I did. I did a video of how I designed it, and there was a bit of drawing, but not much. So I haven't done much with that here. But if you go to Instagram, you can see some of my digital paintings. Jessica said, once I get better, I guess I can pick my pencils up again now. Once I get better with my Prismacolor, watercolor, and technically semi-liquid medium, I have my eye on Inktense. Would you recommend pencils or blocks? Blocks. If you're only going to go with one, I would say blocks. I think they're a little bit more versatile. I use them as almost like watercolor pans, where I don't ever take the block. I shouldn't say ever. There are some cases where I'll use the block, but most of the time I don't take the block and draw directly on the paper. I add water to the block with my brush and then paint it on like a watercolor pan. So blocks are my preference if I could only use one, but they work really nicely together. Julie said, what would you recommend for a beginner colored pencils, wax-based with OMS or oil-based with powder blender? Oh, that's hard. It's almost like two different mediums, so I can't give you an answer. It depends on the artist. I mean, which is more interesting to them. Some artists, I don't know. That's a hard one. Like I said, two different, they're so different. It's almost like asking somebody, would you rather work in charcoal or oil paint? Like they're very, while they both use colored pencils, it's so different. Oh, I'm trying to think. I would say whatever the artist is more interested in. I would say that artist should watch some videos of both and see which one looks more fun. I think that oil-based with powder blender on like sanded paper, I think that's more forgiving. I think that that's a little bit easier to learn once you get the initial hang of how to layer the powder blender. I think that that's probably easier. It's definitely faster. So, yeah, that's a hard one to answer because it's so subjective to the individual. But I think if I had a new student and they really didn't know one way or another which they preferred, I'd probably lean towards the powder blender on sanded paper, just because it's so easy to fix mistakes and it goes faster. So that's one thing that people are often really frustrated with, is just how slow colored pencil is. But if you're using powder blender, not so slow. So that reason alone might be a reason that some people would prefer it. Like for me, I wouldn't personally want to choose only to use one or the other. I like both for different reasons. So let's see. Theo Art Illustration said, first time I used watercolor pencils, I didn't really know what I was doing. I pushed super hard and didn't even try to blend them. Yeah, so you use them like colored pencils. I could see how that would happen. Yeah, I'm not pushing very hard at all, and they just blend so pretty. They're not as like clean, because this was actually a question somebody had, I think over on Instagram. I don't know if I ended up answering it or not. I get busy and I'm like, okay, I'm going to answer it later, and I don't end up getting back to people because I'm a jerk like that sometimes. But he had asked about the difference is using the colored pencil with OMS the same as using watercolor pencils and water, and it is not at all. I mean, so different. You saw when I blended that how quickly that happened. With colored pencils, that's a much slower process, but with colored pencils, it tends to be a bit messier, which some people or not colored pencils. With watercolor, it tends to be a little bit messier, a little bit harder to control the colored pencils. Colored pencils don't slide all over the place if you're not careful, whereas this will. Caught Illustration wants to know if I'm self-taught. Yes, I am. Colleen said, will you show us how to mount our art pieces? No, because I don't mount mine. I buy my artwork, like the paper, if it's something I want to mount, I buy it pre-mounted. Unless you mean matte. That I could. So I may just be misunderstanding the question. That is possible. Matting, if matting is what you mean, that I think I should make a video on for sure. Oh Night Dreams said, any comments on the difference in using watercolor pencils and colored pencils, especially when layering? Well, I think I'm ahead of the game here. Let's see, scrolling past. Whoops. I scrolled way past too many. There we go. Spooky's Hideout said, as you said, mermaid, what other mythical or fable creatures would you love to draw? Unicorns, I've done that. Unicorns actually, and mermaids, I have drawn both. I just haven't drawn like a real, like realistic one. Mine were very, very cartoony. Did I put that pencil? Nope, that's not the one I want. I don't need you. You go down there. I end up with too many pencils in my hand. Can't find the one I want. Dragon would be cool. I would like to do something with like lots of detail in a dragon. Maureen says, on a personal note, I love your nails. Thanks. I think I need to redo them tonight. I'm starting to chip. I like the doing the nail stamping, because when they start to chip, you can't even tell. Which for me, mine chip like crazy. Not the nail, but the nail polish always chips. So there we go. Gail said, I'm a chronic night person and do most of my work in the wee hours. Just curious when you usually work. Normally in the night. I don't like working in the daytime that much. I'm just never in the mood to actually do work. Like I'll do the business side of things, like emails and editing video or that sort of thing. I do in the morning, because I am never in the mood to draw in the morning. Well, I'm not awake in the morning technically. I don't get up until about 1 p.m. But every once in a while when I wake up earlier, I'll work, but not often. I just don't. I'm just never in the mood. So I think you and I are very similar in that. How do I decide what I want to make prints of? Most things I do. I think it depends. it depends on how much detail I did. Like, I probably won't do prints of the butterfly that I did for the powder blender tutorial because it was like super basic, super beginning. I don't think I'll bother with prints on that. This I probably will because I kind of love this guy right now. So as long as it's detailed and clean enough, then I will likely do prints of. Most of my work I'll do prints of. The other thing is if I can get a good photo of it, because some of mine right now, like I don't have a good enough photo of the octopus from last week, or well, a couple weeks ago for the live stream, but I don't have a good enough photo of him to make prints. So that's definitely something on my to-do list, but that's the only reason there aren't prints of him. So usually most things I do, unless it's something super beginner like the green apple. I'm not going to make prints of that. No one's going to buy just a green apple unless they wanted the original. But as far as like prints wise, I don't see that being worth putting the effort into. Go back to the blue. So yeah, sometimes just more often than not, it's just an issue of I need to get a better photo. That's why some don't have prints yet. Most of them should have prints. Mikey? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Can you use brush cleaner for brushes you used with acrylics? Mine are kind of hard and wrecked. I neglected to properly clean them from years ago. Not paint thinner. Paint thinner won't do it, but like, yeah, actual like brush cleaner. Sometimes if you soak it or Goo Gone, people have said that worked really well. Just letting it soak on the bristles overnight or whatever for a couple of days. Some of them I've heard say. I've not tried it, so I can't say for certain, but I do know of people who I trust that said that it worked really well. So that would be something to try. And then like the Masters brush cleaner that I use for oils, that I have soaked my acrylics in and use that too, and it'll soften them up sometimes. Like I'll soak them overnight or something along those lines. Scrolled too far. Jesse James Ramirez said, would you rather use a water pen or brush for all that detail for the lionfish? It depends because I actually have more water brushes than this and I can't find them right now. I've only got these two. One is a flat and one is a round. So, that one can do pretty fine detail, but I've also got these guys that are really tiny. I used that for the detail in here and I really liked those too. So, that just depends. 1 second. I'm going to make sure none of these notifications are super important. Okay, hold on. Just a second. One came through that I'm like, ooh, do I need to take care of this really quick? No, it's fine. Okay. So let's see, showing how you mount and frame yourself would be very helpful. I'm going to be looking to do that soon. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. For my frames, I usually just get standard size frames from like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or wherever. And then for mats, depending, like this is an odd size, so I'll have to mat this myself. So actually, no, I'm not matting this. I'm sending it to somebody else who can mat that. But actually, Brett Ransom, the guy who asked the question earlier where I answered mermaid, it's them who this painting is going to. But yeah, something that's an odd size, I have to map myself. So yes, I think that would be a good video. I will definitely have to do that. Have I ever tried a dragon or a phoenix? I mean, I've sketched when I was younger. I've sketched dragons, nothing that I still have. A phoenix, no, I've not. Whoops. Do I do online lessons? Patreon. I mean, they're slowed down versions. That's as close as I do. I don't have time to do like actual art lessons or one-on-one lessons or anything like that. Let's see. I was looking at buying one of your originals, but I live too far away. Does the company you do prints from ship from the UK? Yeah, actually, because it's Pixels. It was Fine Art America, but they are also called Pixels, and they will ship in they have a location in the UK. So the prints do go there. Let's see. When you're not teaching, what do you like to draw for yourself? Actually, everything I draw is for myself. Like I don't, that's one of the things that I love so much about doing this and not taking commissions. Because when I did commissions, you do a lot of portraits and a lot of things, which it's not that I didn't like them, that it's just always more fun to do things for yourself. So this is for myself. Anything you've seen me draw lately has pretty much been because it interested me and it sounded like fun. it's rare that I do something that doesn't fall under those kind of guidelines or whatever as being for me. So I obviously, you can tell, animals, like, and fish. I love fish. I love flamingos because you see me paint those all the time. Let's go ahead and blend that area out. Oops. Lori said, I heard in one of your videos about the Wacom. Do you use that a lot to create your paintings? And would you do a video on how to use it? Maybe not on how to use it. You can see the video. It's linked in last week's video with the octopus. I did a live stream showing you how I designed that. There's a link, or there should have been a link. You never know if I remember to do the things I intend to do. But I did a video showing you how I did that. And yeah, I do use it quite often. Have you ever had a stupidly difficult idea for a project that is way too time consuming, but you can't get it out of your head? Yes, the mermaid. Michael says, hi Lisa, I'm currently using the Faber-Castell 9000 and I'm looking to try some new graphite pencils. Are the Staedtler Mars Lume Graph a good choice for the new Derwent or the new Derwent graphics? I like the new Derwent graphics over the Mars Lumograph. The Mars Lumograph, they're okay. A friend of mine actually gave me a set because she thought that they're her favorite, so she thought I like them. And she's not wrong. Like, her work is amazing. So it's not like, oh no, she was just wrong. That's just the pencil she prefers. I prefer the Derwent graphics, and the Faber-Castell 9000 are my two favorites. I have the Caran d'Ache, the Graphwood ones. I didn't like them that much. The thing that I liked about theirs is that they're color coded. The whole pencil is like whichever shade of gray, like it gives you the idea of what number that pencil is, versus normal pencils like the Derwent or the Faber-Castell. It's all green or all black or whatever color they are now. I don't even remember off the top of my head. But those were a little bit, that was the one thing about Caran d'Ache I really, really liked, is it was so easy to know, okay, I'm getting a B pencil versus, that is not my dog, by the way. It amazes me how many people let their dogs bark. But at 9 o'clock at night. Though that was the only thing that I liked better about Caran d'Ache than anything else. But performance-wise, the Caran d'Ache were okay. I don't think they were worth as much as they charged for them by any sense of the imagination. I think that they're way overpriced. But they were okay. I definitely am a fan of the 9000 Faber-Castell and the Derwent graphics myself. Karen Peter said, your pencil point looks sharp but short. Do I use a sharpener or a knife? I'm using a sharpener. It's just a little, I think this came in one of my Smart Art Box projects for something. I'm not even sure where I got this. I'm assuming that's where that one came from. It's working pretty good for these though. I usually won't use knives because I'm too likely to cut myself. I am a absolute klutz. Michael Perry. Hi, Michael. I haven't talked to you that much in a very long time. So you have now tried, English. You have now tried the watercolor pencils and you love it. When are you going to let loose and work with watercolors? I honestly might. And he also suggested looking at Anna Mason art on YouTube. I'll have to do that. I might end up buying a full set of watercolors. I want to try a lot of different watercolor pencil brands too. I want to buy, I know Faber-Castell makes some, Caran d'Ache makes some. The Caran d'Ache ones are the ones I'll probably get first. So I definitely see myself investing some time and money into this type of pencil because I am definitely loving these. So now I want to try all of them. I'll have to let that dry. That's a kind of hot mess there. This one needs some more work. Well, they all need more work, but that needs to be way darker in some of these areas. Eric says Lisa is a cutter. Yeah, but not intentionally. I'm just really, really clumsy. I'm not allowed to play with sharp things. Okay. A lot of what I'm doing here isn't like some genius plan of, okay, I know I need this color and then this one on top and then I'll do this one next. I'm just playing and having fun, honestly. I mean, I need it to come out good enough that I can give it to my friend. So I've got to take it semi-seriously. But it's my first time using these. So it really mostly is just a matter of, I want to enjoy the process and just kind of experiment. Lori asked what the water marker I'm using. It is a water brush. It's not actually a marker. It's just a brush that has water in the back end. And these ones are by Derwent. You can get them with different types of bristles. Have I ever tried the Derwent metallic or tinted charcoal pencils? I have some here, the charcoal ones. I haven't tried them yet, though. I need to. Sarah Makes Art said if you're interested in trying watercolor, I recommend watching Kelly Eddington Watercolor and Hulu Alice. Thanks for the suggestions. Eric Draws wants to know what kind of fish it is. It is a lionfish. Oh, good. Barking dog again. It's so funny. Every time I complain about something like that, like someone making too much noise, I'm like, I'm such an old lady. I'm not, old lady, get off my lawn type old lady. Except I don't have a house, so I don't have a lawn, but I will be someday. That is totally going to be me yelling at the kids to get off my lawn. Okay, this is a hot mess of what the heck is going on here. Okay, there's a spine that came out this way. And then another one this way. Losing my place. And then, okay, this is the fin behind it. Yes, I always talk to myself when I'm painting and drawing. That's how I figure stuff out. Michael said, I have tried the Fabriano Studio cold press, but found it had too much texture. The Fabriano Academia is decent, but are there any other decent priced brands? It depends on what you're using it for. I have not figured out what I'm going to start using for, well, watercolor now. Or I definitely like hot press, but I don't like the Fabriano Artistico. Their newer one is just not handling wet media that well. It's not holding its shape well. It doesn't work well with what's it called? Masking fluid. So it's not a good choice. I'm going to try, what is it? The Arches? Whatever it is. That one a lot of people have recommended, so I'm going to try that one. ARCHES, I believe. I don't know for sure yet. So I have to find an alternative now for Inktense and then with watercolor because I don't like... Now, I still have some of my old Fabriano Artistico, so I may try some of that, but I'm not a fan of the new for the wet media. Now, for colored pencil, just the regular Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 140-pound watercolor paper, that one works fine for... the way I work in colored pencil with blending with OMS. I was actually really happy with it, and I'll have that video go up next week. But I don't know what I'm going to start using for Inktense or for watercolor. I don't know yet. Katya said, have you heard anything about the Liquitex airbrush medium? I saw it on sale last week, never knew it existed. No, I haven't. That's interesting. Sunny's Eyes said the Albrechter Dürer watercolor pencils by Faber-Castells are amazing. Yeah, those and the Caran d'Ache I've just heard really good things about. So I want to try both. How do I come up with my ideas? It's a collage of things, and I've got videos you can watch more about it, but just to kind of go over it a little bit here. What I basically do, like, okay, in this case, I knew I was going to be working in watercolor, so I was looking for something that I thought would be a good project with cool colors that I could really play with, a rainbow of colors in these pencils. So I went through a bunch of my own reference photos that I took and came up with this guy. It was between him... What are the other ones? There was an owl, but the owl, the colors were very brown and green. The background was green, the owl was brown. So I didn't get to play with so many colors. I was looking for something that I could just do a rainbow of colors on. So that's why I went with him. And my reference photo doesn't have this many colors. I'm, you know, throwing a lot of oranges and purples that were not in my photo. But so in this case, it was just looking for what I thought would be the right project for the medium. For, let's see, oops, switch colors. For, something like, let's say it's something surreal. I want to do something that's just kind of weird. I come up with a collage of ideas where, like with the octopus, I knew I wanted an octopus. I wanted that bowl that was kind of melted over the wood base. I wanted the wood table, and I wanted something inside the bowl. So there were 4 elements, and I just need to make a collage of those things. Just figure out how to put them together. Or let's say, I mean, I've got a surreal one that's over on my wall. I wanted the Earth. I wanted, what did I end up putting there? Jupiter. I wanted a few other planets in the background. I think that was supposed to be the moon. I don't know what I thought I was painting back there. Light bulbs on a tree and a certain type of butterfly and grass and a river. And I mean, all these random elements. And then I just make a collage of those random elements. That's how I come up with ideas of stuff. It's just putting a collage together of different things. Or in this case, I had a lionfish. His background was just black. So I wanted to put pretty colors, and then use a lot of different colors on him. So I chose him just because I thought he would go well with the colors that I wanted to use. Yeah, Jesse Ramirez says, I can just see it. Lisa, get off those flowers. I just planted those yesterday. I know, I've actually was already thinking about that. I don't think I'm going to make my front yard when I buy a house someday. Like, big dreams here. Someday I'll have a house. I don't think I'll end up doing too much crazy stuff in the front yard. Like, I love plants. I think my backyard's going to be really cool. I'm going to have a water fountain. It's going to be amazing. But I don't think I'm going to do too much with the front yard because I get mad if kids are like accidentally threw their ball and it hit my plants or something like that, which it happens. Kids are playing. That will happen. So I think I'm just not going to do much with the front yard so I don't have to yell at neighborhood kids. Shamrock Glitter wants to know if I'm excited about the Derwent Light Fast Pencils. Oh yeah, very excited. Let's see. Joseph said, my first apartment had an old lady downstairs that banged on the ceiling with a broom if you walked across the room barefoot. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm not that bad. Actually, I have really cool neighbors. I've been so lucky here. I mean, yeah, we've got neighbors whose dogs bark too much, but for the most part, like, all my neighbors are really, really cool. So it's been pretty nice. Vladimir said, what's my secret for memorizing all these paragraph-long brand names? Repetition. I have to say them so often. And you'll notice, like, when I start the Fabriano, I always kind of trail off and it mumbles them together into one thing because I'm so sick of saying it, something so long. But, yeah, having to say it too much. Let's see. Diana wants to know what... Diana. I'm saying that wrong. What brand of paper is best for colored pencils? I always use Prismacolor and Faber-Castell Polychromos on Bristol smooth paper. Bristol, not my personal favorite because I have a hard time getting my color saturation where I want. Now, that said, I've seen plenty of artists who did amazing things with it, so I'm not saying it's not good for colored pencil. I'm saying it doesn't work well for my techniques. So for me, I need something that has a little bit more tooth. So the Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press, 140-pound water, that one's really, I like that, and I like the new version of it too, which I wasn't expecting to. So that, let's see, Stonehenge. I've actually liked Stonehenge for both those pencils, so that would be an option. But I don't like the Stonehenge in the pads because that's more like the Bristol Vellum. So you may as well stick with what you're using. I like the individual sheets, and I just cut it down. The texture is a little bit different. The company says it's the same thing. Anyone who's used the two different types, it is not. But that works really well for colored pencils. I do like the individual sheets of that. I've used the Canson Me 10s. I've not used it with Prismacolor, but with Polychromos and Luminance, it worked well with OMS. And I use the smooth side of that. Let's see. Judy said, clearly you work very hard and undoubtedly for long hours as well. What do you enjoy doing in your downtime? Or do you even have downtime? You know, it's funny. I was just thinking about this today because I didn't last year, this time I did not have downtime. I didn't have time like cleaning my balcony or like taking the time to clean my floorboards because I'm neurotic and that's something that I want done. I just didn't have time to do it before. And now every like week when I do that, I'm like so grateful because that's some that I've adjusted my schedule, so I have time for that now. Walking, it's finally getting warm enough. I can start walking again. I love taking my dogs on walks. I've been having fun lately trying to get B-roll of stuff. And I just started playing around with that, but playing with the cameras definitely is something I'm starting to really enjoy. Or going to the zoo and taking photos of animals. I love doing that. That is so much fun. I'm actually fairly boring. I really like to be at home. And I like to draw. So I do a lot of that. I play violin. I've not been practicing lately. I need to because I've got a project coming up here that I'm going to be doing with somebody else. So I better stop being lazy and get some practicing done. Let's see. I used to show my dogs too, back when this is before YouTube, so I had time to do that. But I always thought that was fun because I like the training aspect of it. And studio assistant number 2 thought it was a blast. My studio assistant number 1 didn't like dog shows. Studio assistant number 2 thought it was an absolute blast. She had so much fun doing that, and I really enjoyed the training aspect of it. So, and then I had friends, so you just go spend the day at the show, and that was always a lot of fun. Not something I see myself getting into again, but I used to enjoy it. Strawberry said, if you could give advice about art to your younger self, what advice would you give? Oh, good question. So many. First would have been to start YouTube sooner. I wish that, I was trying so hard with trying to get traffic back to my own website. And it was really, really hard to get anyone to pay attention to you, to get any of that. But YouTube made that all possible. And it's like, I really wish I would have started that a lot sooner. The other thing, one of the biggest ones is I would have told myself this idea of, I just need to be found this, when the right people see my artwork, I'll make it, I'll be famous and everyone will know who I am and then I'll sell all my paintings and it'll be amazing. I need to be found. I need that big break. There's no big break when it comes to art. That's not how it works. It's a whole bunch of little breaks that all build up to you building a following and having people know who you are and all of that. But I didn't understand that, and that seemed to be, and it's still, I think, a myth that kind of goes around with artists. I'm not sure why we think that's how it works, but it doesn't. And I think I would have liked to have told myself back then, not how it works. You're just going to have to work on, work on the small things, get into different galleries, doing art shows, doing a lot of little things. It's not one big break you're looking for. So that would be definitely a tip I would give myself. The other one would be to spend more time and slow down on the stuff that I was doing, because the style of work that I wanted how I wanted my work to look required me to spend like 8 times more time than I was spending. Like I would spend 45 minutes and expect it to look like something that I today would spend 8 hours on. And I didn't know why. I wasted a lot of years not knowing why. So I would have told myself that too. Oops, scrolled too far. Phyllis said, I decorated my backyard for Christmas for my granddaughter. My husband makes fun of me. Front yard has very little. That's totally going to be me. But I'm not going to do it for a grandchild. I'm going to do it for myself because I'm a dork. I'm a big child. Spooky's Hideout said, would you try that liquid watercolors like Ecoline or Coral? I've never even heard of those. So maybe, I don't know. Donna said, let's see. Going down, that one was answered. Eric Draws said, would you prefer living in the countryside or city? Which one is better for creating? For me, hands down, country. Like I want to be in the middle of nowhere. I'm right on the DFW airport, so I'm in a city, but not like downtown Dallas. There are areas that are gorgeous. I couldn't live there. Like I've had friends who wanted to live there so bad. I'm like, it's not even a matter for me of it's too expensive to live there. I mean, it's that too. But, I do not like big cities. And I'm from Southern California. Everything is a city. I mean, You don't really notice a whole lot going from a huge city to the suburbs. It's all just big. People are everywhere. I am definitely would rather be out in the middle of nowhere, away from people would be my preference. And my husband and I were talking about that, you know, eventually when we do buy a house, where do we want to go? He wants to be close to work. I'm like, I want to be out in the middle of nowhere. That's just my preference. But everybody's going to be different because there are artists who are going to do better and feel more creative when they're in the city, when they're around the people, because that, especially if they do a lot of like urban style art, that is going to make more sense for them to want to be in a city because that's where they're going to find their inspiration. So it completely depends on the person. But because I like wildlife, I like nature, I like that sort of thing, I want to be as far away from people as I can be. And Pal wants to know if there's a video showing how I did the background. That will be on the video when the whole video of this goes up on YouTube. No, I already had everything. I've just started on these fins tonight. Art by Dana Christina said, "Hey Lisa, my husband and I are betting each other on what your sign is. I say you are definitely a Pisces. My husband says you are a Scorpio. Please let W win this bet." Huh? I'm Aries, so you both lost. Let's see. Jesse James Ramirez, you got all kinds of good questions tonight. If you had to choose just one painting or drawing to keep out of all the paintings and drawings you have ever painted or drawn, what would it be? Oh, okay. So my husband already, it's not in here right now, claimed the octopus. That one right now is one of my favorites. He claimed that one, so it's almost like I get to keep it, but it's not really mine. So if that one isn't the one, I would say the flamingo, and this one's already on my, like, it's been hanging on my wall. I don't have it listed for sale on my website, is the flamingo with the grayish background and the bees. That one is one of my favorites, in part because I took the reference photo, and there's something about getting your own reference photo that always just makes it more special, I think. But, well, more special if you liked the reference photo. I guess I've taken plenty of reference photos I didn't like, and there was nothing special feeling about that to me. But that one's probably, let's say that's probably my favorite. Thanks by Lisa. There's a house for sale in the neighborhood, but you would have to move to the snow belt. No snow. That is not happening. Let's see. Oops. A bunch of you are northern Minnesota. I'm in the sticks with just wolves and critters. Okay, I might be willing to deal with snow if it was real. There are certain areas that are just so gorgeous. Actually, Idaho. Oh, I see photos posted of that area, and it's just like, okay, maybe I could deal with the snow. Easy to say that when I'm in the South with my window open in winter, and it's like 65 degrees. What is it? Oh, 63 now. It got cold. So, it's easy for me to say, I might be able to deal with the snow to have that kind of a view, but I don't think I think I'm too much of a big baby. I don't do cold well. Julia Rex said, have you ever heard of an isolation coat, an extra layer of protection before applying the varnish for acrylics? And if so, you apply one onto your acrylic paintings. I don't. I have heard of it. It's not something I've ever done, so I don't really know much about it. So I'm definitely not going to be able to help you there, unfortunately. Oh, thunder now. Yay. I love the weather we get. Like, okay, so being from Southern California, we didn't have weather. We had hot and not as hot. Those are our seasons. But when we moved here, I had a hard time adjusting to the winter, but now that I have, it's so worth it dealing with colder winters just to get to, I love the spring here, except that the tornado thing still really weirds me out because that isn't something we ever had to worry about in California. We just had earthquakes, but I was used to that. This is the whole tornado thing, definitely kind of, I'm not loving that one so much. We've had a few scares that just, that makes me nervous. Joseph says we have heated houses in Amazon. Okay, maybe I could do the cold then. That's funny. I remember posting on an Italian Greyhound forum years ago. It was like January, and it was a picture of studio assistant number one. It was so cute. She was sniffing a flower, and it's all green because everything, that's normal. We don't have nothing goes dormant in California. And people commenting on how much they missed the green, and it seemed so foreign to me because I'd only ever lived in California. The idea of going somewhere that didn't have green all year round seemed so weird. So that was, and this is not the one I wanted. That was definitely a little bit weird for me to get used to. The winters here are very ugly because we don't really get snow. We just get, everything's brown. All the trees are bald and the grass is all brown. And it's really not, winters aren't so pretty here. But luckily they don't last that long. The first couple of years I was here, we had snow and it was really, really cold. But the last few years have been really mild. Much more to my liking. So totally off. This has nothing to do with art, but it's hilarious to me. So I've always been cold. My husband thinks I'm insane. He's just kind of like, whatever, you're cold again. He's just used to it. Like, no big deal. He thinks I'm over exaggerating. Like, well, whenever I eat, and it can be in the middle of summer, I'm freezing after I eat. That's always been a thing since I was a kid. So anyway, he never showed that much sympathy. He wasn't a jerk about it. He was just like, here we go again. It's Lisa. She's cold. That's the usual. And I had a hard time, like I said before, adjusting to the winters. He did not at all. He loves winter. He loved snow. Well, he was really overweight, and he's lost 50 pounds in the last, well, he kind of has plateaued out, but he had lost 50 pounds since summer. And he is cold all the time now. He's shivering, and he'll touch my hand and his hand is like ice. I'm like, it doesn't even feel like your hand. I'm so used to it. He's always hot. So it's been hilarious because he's so miserably cold and he thinks he's dying all the time now because he's so cold. So this is like his first winter basically, since we moved here, that he's had to deal with being cold. So it's just been kind of amusing. I didn't think about that as being like the reason him having extra weight being the reason that he was always or was never cold. Yeah, and it's hilarious to watch him be freezing all the time now. I'm like, see, I wasn't making it up. It really is that cold here. Melissa said I should come to Michigan in the fall with all the beautiful colors. Actually, I went to Michigan at the beginning of summer. When was that? 2008? For my dogs, this is back when I used to show my dogs. They both were in the UKC top 10. Jessie was number 1. Echo was tied for 7 or tied for 9. And she was tied for 7. I forget. She wasn't the one that I was really working on showing. It was Jessie. But Jessie was number 1. So anyway, we went to, there was a invitational type thing up in Michigan. I drove up there. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with that. Well, the whole drive from Texas up to Michigan was beautiful. Oh, so pretty. When you see that, it's like, okay, I see why you guys deal with the cold because, oh my God, your spring, summertime, that was so pretty. Gail said she's in the country in the middle of Alabama on the side of a mountain, and my artwork has really improved since moving here 2 years ago. Location is so true. My husband was linking me houses today. He found an area, I think, was it North Richland Hills? They were not as expensive as he thought, and he was looking at it would actually be cheaper based on their calculations, I don't know, than what I pay for rent here. And so he was linking me those, and I'm like, but it's nowhere near water. Like, I'm right on a creek here. The lake is right, right up the street from me. Like, I want to be near water. But I guess I could just go ahead and make my own water feature in the backyard. So that would be my water. But I really want to be close to water as much as possible. So I'm with you on the location thing. He's linking me these houses because he's just thinking, you know what, let's just buy a house. He wants to buy a house. And I'm like, I want to be in it needs to be pretty. Can we move out to the middle of nowhere, please? Oh, hold on. Okay. Lori said Minnesota has 4 seasons, then road construction. I understand that I'm frozen all the time. Where did I just scroll too far? Okay. Aluria Okay, that looks beautiful, and I know I'm saying it wrong, so I apologize. Have you ever tried spray finish on polychromos drawings? I've even debating on trying it for the look of varnish, not necessarily for protection. Does it impact the color? Yes, it can. You have to be careful because polychromos don't need a varnish. They don't need a finish. And if you put it on like they may not play nicely together, basically. Make sure you test anything that you're going to varnish, whether it be a painting, a graphite, whatever. Whenever you're going to try a new varnish you've not tried before, try it on something that like a scratch piece of, not your actual project, because it can completely, like some people have had problems with things bubbling up, like they just didn't, the chemical reaction was bad for some reason. So make sure you always test it. Yes, there are things you can use. I've not used them myself. The only thing that I've used on polychromos is when I use powder blender, the one from Touch Brush and Pencil. I've used that one on sanded paper and gessoed paper, but I've not tried some of the other ones that are for colored pencil. So just make sure, test it first, because you never know how things are going to react. Nicole said, I grew up in San Diego County and I loved it, but now I live in Northern California and they actually have some seasons. It's interesting. All the years I lived in California, I never went to Northern at all. And I know it's so pretty, like the pictures of those big redwoods. I'm like, that is like my dream of living in that area. So there, Oregon or like Washington, that they have areas that from photos. I've never been to any of those. Gosh, they look so pretty. Okay, that's still wet. No, what I was doing when I was working on this, like here, I would like work on one little area and then take my hairdryer and dry it and then go back and keep layering. I'm being lazy tonight and bringing out the hairdryer, so all of these I'll go back and add more detail to later. Ing said she thinks I would like Bali. I've never been there. I've actually never left the U.S. at all. I'm not big on traveling. I get really, really homesick, so I'm weird. One of my friends is the opposite of me. She wants to travel actually a couple of my friends are like that. They want to travel all the time, everywhere, and I'm like, I'm boring. I just want to stay home. Traveling is exhausting. I think part of it might be just the fibromyalgia. Traveling is like, even when I go visit my parents, because I'll go back once a year, except for last year, I go back to Southern California once a year to visit my parents. And it's exhausting, even though I'm mostly not doing anything while I'm there. Just traveling makes me super tired and super homesick. I'm such a big baby. I was talking to someone with Derwent, and they talked about having me go out to the UK to visit their thing. And first, I don't think my back would handle the plane flight, or the flight that long would probably be a bit of an issue for me. I mean, I probably could get certain painkillers, but then you'd be sleepy from painkillers, so I don't want to do that. So I don't know how well that would go. But I'm like, it's so exhausting. I get so tired going anywhere. I'm boring. Michael said, when I use polychromos, I blend with Zest It pencil blend. I can't seem to get a very smooth finish. It just moves the pigment everywhere. It might be your paper. It might be this. I've never used Zest It, so I can't say. I need to order some so I can try it. But I'm not sure that could be the paper or the Zest It. I know a lot of people swear by Zest It, but I've never tried it myself. Dale said, I live half past nowhere in rural Victoria, Australia. You would love it here. We breed exotic and native parrots. I know you guys have cockatoos, which are the best. Sweetest birds. Destructive, though, huh? I know. I remember reading when I was younger about how, like, the birds, because they're one of my favorites, how destructive they are and how much damage they do to crops and such. Whereas here, they're, like, so prized. They're like crows from the article I had been reading, or what crows are to us. Picks by Lisa, is this your first time creating something with the Derwent watercolor pencils? Sort of. I've used, not Derwent, they were something else with the Smart Art box. So they were not so saturated. I've used those for one little kind of project, and then I need to put that to the side. That's not the one I want. I've used these on like on a cold press watercolor paper in a sketchbook. I tried drawing something one night. It was fun, but it wasn't like a real project that I was just kind of basically scribbling. So this is my first time trying something that I actually plan to finish. Let's see. Latita said, I really miss my house on Lake Texoma. I enjoyed walking on the shore, so close enough to be there in a few minutes. Yeah, see, I think that's going to be how I feel when we someday move out of this apartment, because we have a creek right next to us and a trail that goes next to it. Like, the water's right here all the time. So even though if we move, it's not that long to get to a lake. I mean, there's lakes everywhere out here. I still like knowing that it's right here. Not that I go that often, but I like to know it's there, or that it's close if I wanted to be there. Okay, let's start pulling in some of these much darker areas. I've got the dark purple, and I should have a dark brown in here. I guess this one will work. Set these down. This is the first place I've ever lived and it's an apartment, so it's not like, it's not somewhere you're supposed to stay for the rest of your life, but it's the first place I've ever lived that I have like a beautiful view, that I'm right near like nature where I'd want to, like, I love it here so much. So I'm going to have a hard time getting myself to give this up to buy a house. We even have a really nice dog park, even though I never go to it because my dogs are small and easily get run over by other people's dogs. I don't want them to get injured given how little they are. Like, I'll only let them go into the dog park if no other dogs are there. And even that I don't do often because Echo is allergic to fire ants. She went into anaphylactic shock the last time she was bit, and it was a few bites on one of her paws, but I don't want to chance that again. So like in the winter, there really aren't many ants out there, and I can easily tell because the grass is all dead. It's just all dirt. So I can find if there are ants. So sometimes in the winter, I'll take them out there, but other than that, I normally don't. But point is, it's there if I wanted it, and it's very pretty. Pics by Lisa. Oh, no, I answered that. Whoops, scrolled too far. Nicole said, cows not does. Stupid autocorrect. I don't know what that was in response to. Oh, here we go. I scrolled past too far. I love about, I guess, the autocorrect again. I live about 50 miles from San Francisco, and signing 5 minutes in your autocorrect is more than the cows and the does. This is hard to read. And I'm guessing going 5 minutes in any direction is just gorgeous trees. And a lot of people have farms, so I get to see cows a lot. So they're so cute. We have a lot of cows here too. I love seeing all the cows. Like, that's one thing that always cracked me up, the difference. You see the commercials for California cows and the cheese. The California cows are so much happier than they are everywhere else. No, they're not. Anyone in California knows or Southern California is very familiar with Chino. Those cows are not happy. That is not where I would want to live as a cow, that's for sure. And then we came here, and to see all the cows in the big, like, huge fields. They're beautiful. I love seeing that here. If I was a cow, I would much rather live in Texas than in Southern California, that's for sure. Some of these darker areas in. Like, these are so much easier to use than I thought they were going to be. I really, 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 really like them. Amy said it's been more than 20 years since I've used colored pencils. I've been doing batik. I don't know. I know how to read it, and I don't know how to say it. Batik? Am I saying that right? Paintings. Now I'm using paints and pencils again. I love it. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. That's cool. I'm glad you're finding other mediums you like, because I can say right now, me finding this medium that I like, that is exciting. I love doing different stuff. So now I'm kind of working on darkening some of these up. I'm not really using much black. There are a few areas I'll come through with black, but for the most part, I want to keep the black around the eye, and it kind of pulls attention here because it's the only place that I have black like that. The majority of the rest of this, the shadows, I'm staying with these browns and purples and blues. I need to make sure, let's see, this guy here needs to be pushed way back. So I need to darken all of this up. Actually, that should be more purple than that. Yeah, that Aloria said, anyone that's been on the I-5 in California has smelled the unhappy cows. Exactly. Like when it rained in California, no matter where in Southern California you were, when it rained, everyone smelled Chino. Picks by Lee said, what differences do you notice between working between the Inktense and the watercolor pencils? So that's an interesting question, because I was curious to see how this would be too. Because it was like, well, why would you choose one and not the other? Now, I know that watercolor would be, it'll lift. It's not permanent, so you don't glaze as much. So I've kind of been working around that. But the thing is, it's like here, you can see this loose watercolor look. You can do that with Inktense. It looks different. I don't know. It's just a different look the way that these flow. I feel like there's just that minor difference. I think if I used both of them, like if I'd never used either one, I used this one day and Inktense the next day, I don't know if I would have noticed that big of a difference. But because I've been working with Inktense for so many years, I do see a little bit of a difference there in the way that the colors will blend together. And then because they're watercolor, you can lift things back up. So like there's here, I'm going to rework this. I want to darken this up to push the fish forward back there. Actually, let's start working on that now. And I have to be careful when I blend that out, because whatever color I put will mix in with the color underneath. So let's say I wanted to try to make it this bold purple again. It's going to blend in. This will kind of reactivate to an extent, not like not all the way. It'll just bleed together where Inktense wouldn't. Inktense, I would be tinting the color because the Inktense would be permanent. So there is definitely difference in that. These, I feel like the pencil dissolves a little bit more being put directly on the paper than the Inktense does. With Inktense, I prefer to like scribble on another piece of paper and then paint on it to get it really smooth. Whereas this seems to blend a little bit different. Like it blends it. I'm trying to think of the way to word it. More watery? I don't know if that makes sense. It's like thinner, I guess would be a way to put it. But because, again, the main thing I would say is just the way that you layer. With Inktense, I would glaze and glaze and glaze, and it won't reactivate the under layers, where this one will a bit. So I just have to be aware of that. Oh, this needs to be sharpened as I work. But it's definitely, like I said, if I would have used them both for the first time, you know, one day and then the first time the next day on the other one, I don't know if I would have noticed as big of a difference. Ravenwolf said, Washington State here, I go to the ocean, rainforest, desert, mountains any given day. So much inspiration. It's mind overload at times. I actually, Orca Islands, or like my dream place of where I someday want to live in Washington. I don't know if I'll ever make that happen, but that's kind of like life goal right there. Like a big house with lots of windows that overlooks the ocean would be amazing. So I want to darken this up a lot. Again, I just really want to make sure, because this is so light back here, his face is easily being lost in it, and I kind of want to pull him forward. So I'm going to push the background right behind his face back. And I'm actually going to do the same thing a little bit here where the water is showing in between his little fins on those spines. And I've got to be really careful when I blend this, because I don't want to get this dark color all over the white of his face. So I've got to be real careful. That's definitely a difference between working in the Inktense, is I'm working a bit harder to preserve the white, because with Inktense, I would just use the white Inktense block and then repaint white wherever I wanted it. I'm trying to avoid doing that on this project just to see how it works with just using these. But, I mean, Inktense would work. I could do that if I needed to. Or acrylic. I could take white acrylic paint. Where you guys always hear me say, don't use the white acrylic paint on the on your colored pencils. You can with this, because this is water soluble. So acrylics are water soluble as well. That could go. But watercolor artists really, really are like very elitist about the whole don't ever use that. Don't use gel pens. That would be another thing. I could use a gel pen over this. If a white gel pen, if I wanted white highlights. I have a feeling if I keep using watercolor pencils often, that is something that I'm going to end up doing. Finding some that are not prone to yellowing, because like let's say I wanted little bubbles, that would be easier to do with like a gel pen or acrylic paint, or Inktense would work too, than with these. Warrior potato on a unicorn. I haven't seen you in a while. Wants to know if baby chicken will be in at the end of the live stream to say hello. Yeah, I'll go get him in like 10 minutes or so. I'll paint a little bit longer and then I'll go grab him. I'm sure he would be quite excited to come say hi. Although I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him to stay over here because he is obsessed with my desk over on the other side of the room. That's like his favorite place in the world. And as soon as I bring him in, he usually will like jump and try to fly or run over there to get them there himself because he loves playing on the desk. I have no idea why, but that's what he does. Okay, let's go ahead and add some water to that. Nicole said there was a dairy in the city I lived in, but they closed it down and put a high school there instead. The construction was delayed so many times because they kept finding bones. Oh, that's weird. I'd imagine the ground every time it would rain would smell really bad, given what Chino was like. See, Clarice wants to know if I'm using the new or old batch of fabric. I don't know. It's one I've never used before at all. It's the one that's sold in blocks that you could like paint in it in the block. The problem is my block was falling apart when I opened it. Like my paper was not like sticking. So my only way to work with it was to remove it, and it's not holding its shape well at all. Like it would probably, in order to work this way, would need to be sized or stretched, and that isn't something that I like to do. So I used it like I normally would with the regular Fabriano, and it's definitely not shaped really well. Let's switch to a paintbrush here. This is a bit easier now on the bigger sections. Be really careful with those edges. So you can layer. You just have to be careful because it does reactivate what's underneath. So you don't layer the same way you would with Inktense. It's a very different process. Let's see. How do you get over the shoulder chicken mommy guilt when they can't come in the studio? I haven't oil painted in months because of it. Oh my gosh, I have the same problem. Like I normally would oil paint way more than I have been, but I feel so guilty because he loves, like the studio is his favorite room. My desk is like his favorite place in the world to be, and he can't be in here when I've been oil painting. And I feel so guilty that I end up not wanting to oil paint because I don't want to have to tell the chicken, no, he can't come in here because he doesn't know why. I mean, I'll be walking around with him in the other part of the apartment, and as soon as I get anywhere near the studio door, he loses his mind, all excited because he thinks he gets to come in here, and he can't. So I can't tell you how to get over it because I have issues with it myself. And he wants to know if I've thought about using FX acrylic artist ink instead of gel pen. I haven't thought about anything yet, so I will have to look into that. Thank you for the suggestion. Let's see. Whoops, scrolled too far. Pix by Lee said many Derwent Watercolor, metallic, and Inktense pencils have good light fast ratings, but they are all water soluble. Would you create a drawing and sell them as colored pencil? No, because to me that's not colored pencil. To me, colored pencil, and see, me and John Middick, my colored pencil co-host, we go back and forth on this because he says, oh, it's technically got color and it's in a pencil shape, so yeah, it's colored pencil. I say no, it's not. If you have to define it as a watercolored pencil, then it's not a colored pencil, it's a watercolor pencil. There's a reason it has a different name. It isn't just called colored pencils. So I do not count it as being the same. I would go with, like in this case, I would sell it as a watercolor. With graphite, it would be water-soluble graphite or just graphite. I wouldn't put it as a colored pencil or claim it was. Riviera R said, I have some Pebeo paint. Can they be used with other paint or what? I don't know because I don't know what it is. So I can't help you there. Anytime you have a question about like a specific brand, what you can do with that brand, can it be used for this, can it be used with that, contact the manufacturer. Any manufacturer that is good will get back to you. You can just email them. Like I've contacted Golden's before, I've contacted Liquitex, I've contacted Winsor & Newton, and they've always gotten back to me. That's what a good manufacturer should do. If you can't get them to respond to you, I would just go ahead and assume no. But Derwent, same thing. I mean, they always get back to you, or they should always get back to you with that kind of information when you ask. But they're going to know better. Well, hopefully. Gail Perkins says, Wales is so beautiful, not touristy. If you go to the UK, do Wales. Yeah, that's where Jason Morgan lives. And he's shot photos or taken photos of outside of his studio. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And outside of my studio at the time was looking at a neighbor's brick walls. That's all I saw. So I'm like, oh, so jealous. Lauren said it's easier to layer watercolors and watercolor pencil when the colors are staining versus granulating. I don't even know what that is. Clarice, I'm too new to it. I don't know the terms here. I've got to learn. Are you thinking about doing a portrait in acrylics, or could you give me some tips? I can't use oils. I don't have any intention to. I don't like acrylic for portraits. That's why you don't see me do that, just because I don't like that medium. Like whenever I choose different mediums, I will choose them based on what I think they are best for. So like a lot of times, like in this one, I just thought this project would do well with watercolor. Whereas with painting portraits, I will usually colored pencil I like them with, graphite I like them with, and oils. I don't like them personally for acrylics, just in how they blend. So I don't have any plans to do it in the future. Maybe I will. I always say I won't do things and I end up doing them. But, oh, severe alert, flash flood area. Till 12:45 a.m. Ward flood areas. I think I'm in a flood area. I can't really avoid it. Yeep. But, yeah, I'm not going to say I won't, but I don't have any near plans to, because again, I just don't like the way acrylics blend for how I want to do portraits. Unless I do something that's more impressionistic, then I like them for it. Scrolled too far. Oh, I must have worded that wrong, though your answer may be the same. I meant use only light, fast, water-soluble pencils to create a piece without activating with water. I would still call it watercolor pencil in that case, Pix by Lise. Because that's what it is. It's not, to me, that's not colored pencil. It's a water-soluble. That, again, it's not that my answer is the right answer. This is how I feel about it. John Middick, my podcast co-host, feels the exact opposite. We argue about it regularly. Let's see. Okay. Whoops, I started on that shadow. So see, this so much better now. I will probably do a little bit more as I get further along. I may darken up some areas closest to the fish later. What pencil was I going to use? I think this guy? Yes. I need to really darken up in between some of these, actually. Purple would be better here. Tammy said, I'm still new at the terminology myself, but staining watercolors leaves a stain on the paper when you try lifting the color. Granule leaves tiny splotches of pigment on the paper. I have no idea what the difference is, honestly. I don't know enough about it I'm not going to pretend I know what I don't, because I think I'd end up sounding stupider than I do right now by saying, I have no idea what those mean. I'll have to look into that. Dream said that she's he, actually don't know on that one, is also new to watercolor pencils, but each color has a different permanency. Staining pretty much means that the color is less likely to come off the paper and easier to glaze. Interesting. So would that be like, because I know the Faber-Castell watercolors are supposed to be more permanent. I'm guessing that would be like those. I don't know. Loria says, if a cow floats by in the live stream, I'm excused. Actually, we don't have cows in this, right where I live here. This area doesn't. Where I lived before this up in Frisco, there were a lot of cows up there. You could hear them sometimes at night. It always made me happy. Although I also suspected they were being probed at the time by aliens, so that was a less happy thought, but... Let's see. Picks by Lisa. Am I worried about my pencil strokes directions on this? Not really. Kind of. Okay, like a few areas my pencils show more, like you can really see it here, more than what I would like, and I haven't been able to blend it out. I'm gonna have to put more color there to kind of hide it. But mostly I'm kind of doing little ovals and circles or keeping it fairly smooth. I don't want to scribble where it's like Z-shaped. That is kind of what I did up here, and I couldn't get rid of it. Here, let's switch to a deeper blue. So once I've got it laid in, I can start getting my values a little bit better. Okay, I think I can go even a little bit darker than that. Let's see what color I want to use for that. Probably, let's see what some of these browns I have over here are. Ooh, that's a dark brown. Burnt umber. Sure, let's find out what happens. See what I mean? I'm just experimenting. Whenever I start a new medium or I'm doing something that I've just never done before, I don't put too much pressure on myself. Whoa, that's a lot of rain. I really feel bad for the guys out there collecting trash right now because holy crap. But I try not to put too much pressure on myself. And any of you guys, if you are new to no matter what medium it is, don't put too much pressure. So like here, yes, I'm doing this for a friend. And I told her, I'm like, if it comes out good, I'm sending this to you. Not because she asked for it, just because I knew her and her husband like lionfish. So, I mean, I want to do a good job, but I'm also not going to kick myself. If something doesn't come out great, I'm learning. That's a part of the process. Don't put too much pressure on yourself when you're trying something new. Experiment. See what happens. Like there, I don't know if the brown was going to work. I actually kind of like it. But I didn't know if it was going to work for sure. I'm not going to find that out if I don't try. If I'm not willing to make a mistake, if I'm not willing to do something that I later regret, I'm not going to move forward when it comes to this. Don't get so hung up on, I don't want to mess something up. Because like, if you're like me, I like to do things like something, it's more fun for me to go, I'm doing this for somebody. That's fun. But I'm also not going to be so worried about, I mean, realistically, my friends, when I give them something, it can be terrible and they'll think it's good. I don't know why. My friends are apparently, you guys have bad taste, friends that are, I don't know if you guys are watching this right now. But they'll think that things look better than I think they look anyway. But I think it's just so important to really experiment when it's something new and not put a bunch of pressure on yourself. I mean, like throughout here, I've got the graphite pencil showing in places. If I were to do this over again, I would not use a regular graphite. I would use water soluble. But I'm also not kicking myself or mad at myself for having used the wrong one. I wanted to see what would happen. I had to try it to find out. So I'm going to go ahead and go grab the chicken as requested because I need this to dry anyway. You want to hold on 1 second? He will be here to say hi to everybody. Oh, my knees. I sat in that one position for way too long. My knees are angry. Okay, chicken, we're here. We're not going to the desk. You have to stay here. There, you want to say hi? Hi, chicken. Are you a big chicken? Show them that you're a big chicken. Big chicken. Big chicken. Big chicken. Good chicken. Okay, let's see. I'll answer a few more questions before we wrap it up for tonight. Let's see. You have a fan base, chicken. They're saying hi to you. I think everyone likes you better than me. You're not going to the desk. Stay over here. See, he's aiming over, he's leaning towards the desk. He wants to go over there. He does not want to stay where we are right now. Chicken, come here. Come up here. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come on. You're not going to do it, are you? Come on. No? Aw, chicken. There you go. Say hi. You want to balk for everybody? Balk, balk. Balk, balk to the bird. No? Not right now? He's mad because he's not at the desk, so. See if I missed any questions while I was out. No, I think I'm actually caught up on most of these. Yeah, Alaria, I know I'm saying that wrong. I'm saying got to do the new bok bok chicken trick. Say bok bok? If I put him on the desk right now, he would talk away, but he's not real happy about not being over there. Like you can see he's kind of worked up because he wants to go over there. I never sit here with him, so he's... You know, can do anything? You gonna talk? Usually with the big chicken thing, though, big chicken, he's supposed to put his wings out. He'll say it with me, and he also, because I always say, come on, big chicken, and he'll go, come on. It's so cute. But not right now, huh? Are you big chicken? Big chicken. Come on, big chicken. He copies me. None of my other birds I was able to teach this way. With him, like, I flap my arms in the air like an idiot. And so he's like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Big chicken. Come on, big chicken. Come on, big chicken. Big chicken. Oh, I don't need to record anymore. You're not going to do it, huh? You're just going to make me look like an idiot and flap my arms around. Thank you. It's appreciated. Let's see. Ashley has said, we as artists are our own worst critics. My husband tells me he likes my work and always and I always say, well, I could have done this or that better. You know, it's true, and I think it's good, too, that we critique ourselves and know what we could do better so that we can do it better on the next time. We just have to be careful and make sure that we're still proud of what we did do. Be proud of the things that came out good. I think it's so easy to get so caught up on things you wish you had changed or things you had done different that you don't get the joy of, oh my gosh, this looks out like I'm seriously excited. This is my first one. It's not going to be the best watercolor piece I ever do. Doesn't matter. I'm excited because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm still excited about what came out. I love this area, which isn't even finished, but I think it's important to still be proud of what you do and the things that you're happy about and kind of focus on those and not too much on the negatives. You need to be aware of what you would improve. That's important too, and I think that's a mistake a lot make where people they kind of want to ignore the bad. I think you need to be aware of what you want to improve on, but don't let it make you beat yourself up either. Let's see. Yeah, I wish he was saying the big chicken warrior potato on a unicorn, because when he says it, he has the most adorable high-pitched voice, and the higher pitched my voice goes, like I sound like an idiot when I do it, but he gets super excited. Where do you think you're going? Excuse you, where are you going? You're not going to go hang out on the keyboard because I have a feeling he wants to go play on the laptop. You're not picking at buttons. No, we're not doing that. Let's see. I'll answer a few more questions if you guys have anything. Where are you going? He's not used to just sitting on my shoulder. He likes to be where I am. He likes to sit on my knee. That's probably what he's trying to do. I don't know why he likes my knee, but he'll sit on my knee or my desk, but not... This is not usual for you. I'm trying to keep you in the frame so people can see your adorableness. Come here. Back up here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. He comes when called. If I do my fingers like this, oh, hi, chicken. You gonna talk? Say buck, buck. Buck, buck, chicken bird. Yes, I taught my chicken how to balk. Let's see. Whoops. Tammy said I'm lost of what IG means. Instagram, usually. Let's see. Do you think you'll sit so I can draw? Will you stay here? Get back up on my shoulder. Oh, that's what I was saying. He actually comes when he's called. I can put my hands on the finger and tell him, come on, chicken. And I move just my fingers like this back and forth, and he will chase my hand all over. He thinks that's the funnest thing to do. But he holds his wings up all cute and just chases after my hand. But it's nice because when he'll go like under a table or something and I want him to come back out, even if he doesn't want to come to me, for some reason, he cannot resist coming when I call him. I've had birds most of my life. I grew up with them. I grew up with bigger parrots. None of them ever came when called. For some reason, he can't resist it. It just cracks me up. Let's see. Jesse Ramirez said, last random question. Where are you? Ow! That's not how this works. Where are you going? Let's see. Jesse Ramirez says, last random question for me before I go. Would you rather be able to be awake for a whole day, or have the choice to paint in your sleep? I'd rather be able to be awake for the whole day. Like if I could not have to sleep ever again, that would be my choice. Gail wants to know what type of bird chicken is. He is a white-faced cockatiel. So usually the cockatiels that you're probably familiar with seeing have the orange patches on the cheek. He's a white-faced variety, so he doesn't have any yellow or orange pigment at all. Huh. You have no colors. Are we done? You want to go to your desk, huh? We do. That is kind of our nightly, like, let's bond. I'll go do dailies in World of Warcraft, and he hangs out and plays on my desk. Here, let's see if he'll be good. Will you stay there while I draw? Will you stay on my shoulder? And not be a pain? Yeah, he's already trying to move it. Yo, you want the pencils, huh? These aren't for you. These are my pencils. You stay there. Stay there. No. Chicken. Where are you going? Seriously? I think he's going to try to remove the pen. Yeah, he's trying to steal the pencil. That's not for you. You can't have that. Move back. What are you doing? See, this is why you're not allowed to help me paint and draw. You're really bad at this. Oh, you want on my knee? There you go. You're not going to stay there, are you? Rotten chicken. Yeah, Gail said she's never seen one this color. Yeah, the white face variety started becoming really popular in the U.S. anyway. Around the 90s, they were super expensive. They weren't very common. They started, God, I want to say it was like the 50s or the 60s or, I don't know. They started breeding this variety before that, but in the 90s is when we started seeing them to where like the the public could buy them, but they were like really expensive. Now they're much, much more common. They're called white-faced is the term that is used. And it just means they can come in any color combination of white and gray. So some are almost solid white. Some have like pearling on them. And they, lots of different color combinations, but it's only white and gray. There's no orange cheek is what counts as the white face. He's sitting on my knee, but he's eyeing that pencil. I don't think he planned. Yeah, he's planning to go take them out of my other hand that's holding them in my lap. You are a rotten chicken, and this is why you don't get to help on live streams. It's a bad chicken, huh? Yeah. He gets all excited when I say that. I think he likes the tone of my voice. Are you a bad chicken? It's a bad chicken. Yeah. Let's see. Gavin wants to know if chicken realizes that I'm drawing. He doesn't care. He realizes he wants the pencil in my hand. That's not for you, chicken. Not your pencil. Not your pencil. You're very distracting. You can't go on the keyboard either. Okay, which one? This one should be kind of a straight line. This one's kind of weird the way this folds. I actually need to work on that because I don't like... Oh, that's what I'm missing. This actually comes... Chicken! You can't go on the keyboard. I know what you want. He wants to pick the keyboard keys out of the thing. You're not going to let this happen, are you? Oh my gosh, chicken. Seriously. Fine Art Ann said, I just woke up and came to say hello. Hello. This looks amazing. Thank you. How do I like the pencils? I am in love with these. Like, I'm having so much fun. The only other watercolor pencils I had really used were the ones that came in Smart Art Box, and they were fun enough to kind of pique my interest, enough that I was like, hey, I kind of like these. I'd kind of like to do a little more with, you know, other ones. They weren't pigmented like these. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying these. You're going to fall. You are. Let's see. Chicken sneak attack. Guard your pencils. Yeah, exactly. Actually, he may be on the intro of the colored pencil video I've got to work on next. Or not next, but the one that'll go up next week. This weekend. Whenever that video goes up. The one with the Rosella, the bird that we were drawing last week. I think you're going to see him in the intro. If he cooperates. I only need like 4 seconds. What, you want my hand? I only need 4 seconds of you being adorable. You think you can handle that for that video? Could you do it? Buck, buck. Buck, buck. He talks to my fingers when I do this. It'll get him talking usually. Yeah, huh? You smell like a wet chicken. Why do you smell wet? Okay, so that right there, I can't whistle. So sometimes to try to get him to start whistling the Game of Thrones song, I would go do like with my voice because I can't whistle. So he apparently thinks that's what I sound like, and then he ends it with dying cat. I don't even know where that came from, but he does it every time, and it cracks me up. He does the normal Game of Thrones, but I can't whistle, so I can't get him started on it. Mara Black wants to know if you can use these with regular watercolor paints. Yeah, you should be able to. I mean, it's just watercolor in pencil form. Like, it is watercolor. So, yeah, they would be able to go together. Gail wants to know if chicken can fly. Like a chicken, I mean, he can kind of flutter. He doesn't, I don't clip his wings so short that he falls like a rock, but I also don't want him having full flight because you have a few birds fly away and you get a little paranoid about that sort of thing. Yeah, Warrior Potato on a Unigrin said he clearly wants the pencil more than I do. Yeah, he does, huh? See, it's important to me. I wanted it. What are you doing? We're just about done. Yeah. You can talk? And the dying cat portion. Seriously, no, I know my voice is bad. I didn't realize it was full-blown dying cat bad, but according to Chicken, that's what I sound like. Morticia said, I painted a lot in watercolor in the 90s, both regular watercolor and watercolor pencils, and they work fine together. There we go. Julie wants to know if there's a reference photo available for this fish. For patrons, it will be because it was one of your reference photos from like a year or two ago. So I will repost it for you guys when this video goes up over there. But if you're not on Patreon, just you can follow the way that I've done this with any, like if you go to Pixabay, I'm sure you can find a decent lionfish reference photo that you can use the same techniques on. Tanya said I should give him a pencil to hold and take a picture to use as my logo. Yeah, that's the problem. Getting a picture of him while he's doing anything I want him to do, he is a challenge because he never holds still. He's like, he moves constantly. He's always trying to like explore and get into something. Huh. As you can see, even with me, like my female chickens, or when I had cockatiels before, the females will just sit on your shoulder and they're just happy to be with you. Not him. He wants to explore all the things always. Huh. Yeah. That my version of Game of Thrones? Is that what I sound like? Thanks, by the way. Julie said, score that. I'm on your Patreon. Yeah, this will be up. This video, I need to finish this. I'm going to try to get it done tomorrow. I'm not going to promise because you guys know I'm late. Anyone on Patreon knows I am always late on stuff. You eventually get what you're supposed to get, but gosh, I'm late all the time. But I'm going to try to have this for you by Friday night, which for some of you will be Saturday morning, and then that photo will be there for you too. But my goal is for this to be your guys' video this week. The Arches paper is great, Morticia says, so that's good to know. I'm definitely going to be ordering some of that. I'll probably order at the same time because I want to order, unless, I don't know, can you get that at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or anywhere like that? But I want to order some when I order probably the Caran d'Ache colored or watercolor pencils. I think are the first other colored pencils I'm going to try after this. That's a lot of rain, huh? You're not used to hearing it this loud. You're not usually in here when the window's open. Don't worry, it's got a screen. He can't fly out, even if he could fly. Do you want to say goodbye then? Are we done? You think we should be done? See, it's a good thing I'm wearing my chicken protection kit because you just pooped. Yeah, you did. Are you proud of yourself? These, if you've got chickens, are necessary. Let's see. Yeah, Dale, he normally does good. Like, his Game of Thrones, when he whistles it, is really, really good. But I can't get him to do it on my own because I can't whistle. I've never learned to whistle, so I'm... Oh, good. Julie says that Hobby Lobby does have some arches, so I'll have to get some there. But I'm going to have... I can't get him started on that. I can only get him to do the dying cat version because apparently that's what he thinks I sound like. He's good at the normal whistle. Fine Art Ann wants to know what the light fast is on these watercolor pencils. You know, I don't know. I don't think... I remember somebody telling me they weren't great. I've not looked into them myself, so I just assumed they weren't. But I'm sure it's on Derwent's website. I'll have to go look at that. I'll find out for you guys before the video goes up on YouTube. I'll find out exactly what those ratings are and have a link where you can look that up. But I'm not positive. I think they weren't supposed to be great. I don't think it says on the tin anywhere. I don't think it... I know some pencils will say, oh, that tin is blank. Oh, let's see if this says anything. This is the old one, so I don't know if that makes a difference. No, there's no ratings on here. Yeah, if you go to their website, they actually, for each type of pencil that they make, they have their light fast ratings on their site. You have to look a little bit for it, but they're all there. But I'll find out for sure for the video. Yeah, and if you guys have been using... Oh, and I'm a jerk. Why didn't I not think of this? Oh, I know why, because I'm a jerk. A forgetful jerk. Make sure to check out our moderators' channels. Valerie does really cool wood burning and some other art, and we've got Joseph Fincham. He does painting. He recently had one showing you guys how to gesso a canvas. So I've got links to both of their channels in the video description. If you can head over there, tell them thank you for helping me out, because can we not eat my bracelet? Really? So is that going to be a thing now? What are you doing? That's not yours. Let go. But head over and check out their channels. Say thank you by subscribing to them. They both are, actually, I think both of them putting up more and more videos. GoPro, great for, ooh, I hadn't thought about using my GoPro to get chicken videos. We're going to have to make this happen, chicken. You are going to be in some videos. We'll have fun with that. But again, make sure to check out Valerie and Joseph. They have their channels are listed in the video description. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And I don't have any idea what my next... Hey, where are you going? Here, go on this side. You're being a pain. I don't know what next week's video is going to be. Can't even give you a hint. I don't know. But I will see you guys, well, next week. Bye. And then we have the awkward pause. Hit stop. I didn't want to stop. Bye.